Delighted to be back in Canada. The last time I performed in an opera in Canada was January, 16 years ago, in 1996. And so yeah, it's a kind of scary to think it's been that long. It's a little bit intimidating in that it's such a huge sort of icon of a role that to create such a role it's a bit of a daunting task. Scheer and Jake Heggie had to take shortcuts in finding a way to sort of the highlights, and that's what this opera is. It's all the great sort of monologues that Captain Ahab has, and it's spectacular. I feel that one of the things that we need to do as opera producers and singers and that is to have new works. The problem we have in Europe right now is that they know the repertoire so well that they decide to reinterpret it in insane ways. I remember once doing Idomeneo, Mozart, sort of an unusual or a lesser known Mozart opera, as if it were a type of Saddam Hussein. And so now you have people in boxer shorts carrying around doves of peace and cruise missiles and bombs on their shoulders. And not me, by the way, just but you know, sort of like a commentary that goes on with the opera to try to somehow make it relevant or whatever, and it's therefore they completely miss the point that the librettist and the composer had when they did it. And there's a lot of that going on eternally. You know, Giovanni set in a garbage heap, and I mean, it's tiresome, and I think it's kind of rude for to do the pieces. So, but I think one of the ways of going forward is to get new pieces and that can express new and modern ideas, but in a new form, and therefore we don't have to go and sort of desecrate the old ones. What have I found challenging about the role? Wow, that probably, I guess everybody's going to have to ask about the peg, and that certainly was is the first and the biggest obstacle that you have to get through is to figure out how to handle that peg and how to make it work and get around on stage. So one has to remain relatively still while you're on stage. There's not too much movement from Ahab, just because of the you know, difficulties with working with the peg. In fact, in the book, it talks about there being sort of holes drilled in it at strategic points in the ship that would anchor the peg for Captain Ahab and make it a possibility that he could have some kind of security while he stands there. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the you know, that's one of the things you just have to kind of deal with, is you don't have a lot of mobility. Well, the challenge of Ahab is that there are very few moments of sort of pullback from the intensity of his character. So the only time that there's ever kind of softness to his character is when he's dealing with Pip. There's a moment when he sort of realizes, oh, I need to do this differently, and he sends Pip down to his cabin, to, you know, and in a much more tender way than he had ever dealt with anybody before. And then there's also when he thinks about his wife and his child back in Nantucket. That's the only other kind of quiet moment. So the big challenge is you have a lot of big singing, because much of what Ahab does is, you know, command from a distance, and so one has to really let fly. So there's probably, that's one of the other things, is to pace your performance. Right. There is a line. This is, my one cogged circle fits into all their various wheels, and they revolve. So he's the center point, and everything revolves around him. And oh, it's great to have a role like that. I mean, how cool is that? There aren't too many others that happens to.